Alright, as I told you last week, I'm going to keep elaborating on the job that happened a few weeks ago in Carlisle and a number of things that were overlooked or details that we could elaborate on to better ourselves, better your next job or the next rigging situation. So as I mentioned in the last video, crew is speed lining things out of the top of a spruce tree when this happened, when the top got hung up on the wire. And I'm simply going to explain the situation that happened on that job, and it's the same mistake that I've made several times, and it's easy to do when you're speed lining brush or tops or wood or really anything. So a really easy concept to understand, but when you're applying it sometimes in the moment we forget about it or misjudge the distance. So this is kind of the scenario or situation that the guys had on that job. It was a multiple stem tree, so 3 main stems. We're going to pretend that this is our multiple stem tree, and this top here was gone. It was sent out. It was slid out into the lawn. This top here would have been gone and safely slid out into the yard. And then there was this third top that was a little bit behind where the speed line was anchored. And I'm going to start by saying, if you are really concerned about what you're sliding brush or wood over, like if it's close, you probably want to consider another means of rigging to make this happen. Or rig the piece out onto itself, then tighten your speed line up, and then lower it. Use a controlled speed line to get it over the obstacle. What you don't want to do is think you're okay or think you have the clearance, and then let something fly and it not have enough clearance and you hit that object at high speeds. It'd be, if there was a miscalculation made, it'd be better to lower something into the peak of a roof or a wire, or have the ability to stop that piece before it gets there and have to deal with that situation, rather than just letting something fly and having it hit or get hung up on whatever that obstacle is. So if I was to send this top down my speed line here, just bending the speed line over here to hook this up, right? There's not much deviation here in my speed line, so my distance, my tension in the speed line isn't going to change a whole lot when this piece comes over and drops into that line. However, if I pull this back beyond where my anchor is, and now I'm going to send this piece, you're going to have to calculate you doubling that distance, and that's how much this thing's going to drop. So 3, 6, 7, you're going to have a lot of clearance to make this piece here work. So something we could have done differently, and something I could have done differently a number of times, is to, one, either slack my speed line and reattach it back here, or just use another sling and beaner, which you probably have on you, and redirect the speed line there, and then make my cut here and send that piece. So we don't lose our tension in the speed line, we just redirect it so that we can tighten it properly before we send that piece. What we don't want to do is pull this bend in here and then have this drop substantially into whatever obstacle we're trying to clear. So I just wanted to demonstrate, one, either simply retie your anchor back here, or maybe you're using a heavy rope and that's a long distance and that can be difficult sometimes. We can just take another sling and beaner and redirect our speed line here and then send this piece out. That's really the only concept I wanted to mention. That's something that maybe could have been done differently and situation could have been avoided, but as we've mentioned, the reason we're discussing this incident is because there's so many moving parts and there were so many things missed on all levels of our tree, all levels of management, that I want to hit and address each part. So this was the speed line, this was the rigging piece that was maybe missed. So I wanted to discuss retying the speed line or using a redirect to lessen the likelihood of you slacking this and dropping something into your obstacle that you're trying to clear. So that's the only thing I wanted to cover. Yeah, have a good one. Have a good Friday.